Welcome! It's Rucks, Mauls and Oval Balls back again for some rugby podcasting greatness. It's Dave, back for some more podcasting fun, joined as ever by Rory. Rory, make sure to say hello to the listener.
Hello, listener. Hello, David. How are you?
Very good, very good. I thought I'd change up my opening gambit with slightly different phraseology. How did you feel? Did that go well?
No, can we go back to classic?
Okay, I'll revert to type next week because it felt unnatural. But yes, very well. Thank you, Rory. As I said, well, as alluded to last week, I'm very much in the waiting game, and I am still waiting to bring the next generation of England's best propping future into life. So we wait another week, and we'll find out if that the sports personality of the year in the year 2046. I'll introduce him when he's here, but he's not here yet.
Yeah. So, listener, if David has to run out halfway through this podcast, there's a good chance it would be because he's about to become a father, or it might just be that his latest delivery of posh pastas and dog food have turned up. Yeah. We're yet to find out, but the tension is palpable.
And there'll be a similar level of excitement on my face, I'm sure, because I do like my pasta. Well, Rory, I know there's something in this banter section that I think you are excited to talk about, because I saw it on your social media this weekend that a certain side had a certain victory and a certain somebody scored what sounded like a stupendous score.
David, the Lions battered them. And not only did we batter them, yours truly, old El Capitan Morale, ran one in from the edge of the 22. They're 22, not mine, but, you know.
Yeah. Was the oxygen available on the try line?
I may have claimed on my socials that what I did was showboat. What actually happened was I got the ball off, in fairness to myself, not a bad support line with the fly half, getting the 2-on-1 on the outside.
That's very fair to yourself,
Yeah, ran it in. Obviously overcoming the immediate blind panic when I saw open pastures, but managed to find my way to the try line. At which point the fullback had run across to cover, to which I put the handoff out. Fantastic. And held him out.
Fantastic.
So then I was just sort of momentarily stood on the try line, holding the fullback with no real idea of what I was meant to do next. And in a moment of hubris, I thought, what will look cool is if I just sort of slowly fall back and place the ball.
Yeah.
What it actually looked like to everyone else was I didn't know what I was doing and sort of didn't really know how to finish the try, which actually is more accurate. Because,
I feel that's a fair representation of what I'd expect to see.
More experienced canterers than myself would have done the old dive from 5 or an ash splash or something similar. Most of my tries are pick and goes from less than a metre out. So this was really sort of
unfamiliar territory.
Probably. Yeah, I think it's quintupled my aggregate, cumulative try scoring distances up to this point.
Fantastic. How many signatures would be required to be sent through to the Westcliff committee, them to start investing in a video recording software just for the Lions games, so we can capture these moments, not even for the channel, just for my own personal sake, because I would love to have seen this.
Look, honestly, I think this is something that we can really campaign for. There's a lot of very senior men at Westcliff who listen to this podcast, and I think it's about time that we got some real AV work down at the Lions games.
Well, campaign starts now, Rory, and if you are listening, senior members of the Westcliff committee, I strongly urge you to consider putting up recording equipment specifically for the Lions games, where El Capitano here is putting these exploits on display, because I think the world would like to see these.
And this is an open invite to all broadcasters apart from Premier Sports as well, because you won't do us justice. But everyone else, come and film.
We all know Premier Sports don't put boots on the ground, Rory, so there's no point even asking that.
I'm not in Premier Sports satellite, sort of watching the games from above.
Absolutely not. But Rory, I'm happy that is our banter quota fulfilled and then some, because that's just, the imagination runs wild. I'm just very glad. All I would ask is, how much was that avalanche of a victory down to your captaincy?
Well, look, it's a team game, David. You never like to take all the credit. A lot of boys put their hands up and performed on that one, but I've got to say, I think I was a good 85-90%. I should come clean and say I did also get a sin bin in the match for pushing someone over.
That for some reason was omitted from your Instagram story. That's
I didn't put that on the socials.
and only emboldens my desire to have these games recorded for the world to see, because I can only imagine that would have been quite funny. Fantastic. Well, Rory, we're going to move on. As much as I'd love to stay talking about the Westcliff Lions and your own personal victories, we've got rugby to talk about. And we'll start off normally. So we'll go through the news. We'll do a few bits on the news. We'll talk Champions Cup round 4, and then we'll do a little roundup of what's happened in Champions Cup and where that's going. Looking ahead, starting off news-wise, I think the right thing for us, because some people turn to us for our up-to-date, knowledgeable transfer information. Is it about time we do another little transfer recap, talk about the heating up of the transfers going on in the Prem at the moment?
I think we should, because some of the signings that have been announced since the new year are pretty monumental. Some big headlines. Obviously the Red Bulls continue to write the headlines really with their business, but there's some big news elsewhere. The likes of Aaron Wainwright to Leicester Tigers. It's a big move. John Klein moving from Munster to Gloucester. We talked about that briefly last week. That's another big move. Who else have we seen recently? We've got.
Let me bring up my old summary, where I keep track of everything. It is interesting how there's some clubs where it is ghostly quiet what's going on, and others where there is rampant rumours and rampant news coming out. So as you mentioned, Jean Klein going to Gloucester, just today announcing Joe Joyce going to Gloucester as well.
Very good signing, by the way. Those two putting a bit of grunt back in that pack. Very good signings.
Yes, and to all the people below the line in my last transfer update who are absolutely adamant Joe Joyce wouldn't sign for any other Premier club than the Bristol Bears because he is the king of Southmead. I told you so. Stefan Levy's leaving Harlequins.
That's a big blow for them, actually.
He's a leader in that squad.
Yeah, and actually, perennially injured. I mean, that is a big issue. But that's a pack often accused of lacking grunt, and Stefan Levy's definitely brings that.
Yes, he's definitely one of the ones that brought the grunt. So Red Bulls, I'm not sure we spoke about that. Obviously, it's Rafi Quirk being finalised. They've signed...
Rafi Quirk, yeah.
Huge signing, Rafi Quirk. And they've signed, and I am going to apologise in advance on the pronunciation of this chap, because I'm yet to hear it on commentary, so I am going a wild stab in the dark on Fehi Finianganofo, who is...
That's as good an option. That's as good a attempt as... I could have expected, David.
Thank you very much. But yeah, he looks like he's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, the Olympic finalist, and that's to go ahead with some very solid signings. Obviously, Elliot Miller-Mills,
Sam
Graham, Josh Hodge, obviously, Ross Tuima. We've talked about
Franco Molina. Ruz Tuima.
Franco Molina, another very good sign-in.
Hoskins Tutu. They are building
massive sign. There's some interesting. So there's some interesting profiles being linked to the Red Bulls. Cam Jordan from Gloucester's being linked, which is an interesting profile. A very solid Prem level lock.
Yeah. It seems like they're being quite smart with their recruitment in that they're looking at the different levels and the different sorts of players you need to build a cohesive squad that can kind of stretch across a full season. So they are being smart, and there's so many names linked with them still, and I don't think that's going to end. But I think also that just on Newcastle specifically, they're also making re-signings. So we saw that Brett Collins signed a contract extension, which
Brett Collins signed George
Leatherbarrow today. Like they're investing in some of the current squad as well, which I wasn't sure was going to happen. So I'm quite pleased for those who are getting those opportunities.
No, I think there's been a few who have really put their hands up to stay part of the project, and those three names in particular are ones that spring to mind. So the Red Bulls project is definitely heating up, and it's going to be, it'll be interesting to see how they integrate everyone. Obviously, the coaching question's still up in the air at the moment.
Yes. I'd be surprised. There must be a name there somewhere, because all these players wouldn't be signing for a club without knowing who's going to be in charge, you'd suspect.
I suppose tangentially to the transfer roundup, there has been a big shift on the coaching front around the world recently. With old the breakdancing surfer himself getting the heave ho from the All Blacks, Scott Robertson. Somewhat surprisingly, I think, for maybe outside of New Zealand, a surprise. Although it sounds like the noise within New Zealand has been pretty vitriolic on that front.
Yeah.
But of course, he is now being linked with several jobs, well, across the globe, but in the Prem, Quins and the Red Bulls, and to a lesser extent Gloucester as well, because it's known that they're looking for a DOR, although I suspect that's less likely. All being linked with bringing him across. You start to, is this raising the profile of the Prem towards the lure of top 14? Are we starting to see that kind of,
well,
not parity? That would be a stretch, but there's maybe a little bit more equality between the two, if not entirely there.
Ask yourself this question, Rory: if 18 months ago, would you ever see a world where a very recent All Black head coach would be linked with top jobs in the Prem? I would argue wouldn't happen. If that happens, I think that shows a real step change in the profile of rugby professionals coming into the league. So I think if that does come to fruition, there's always every chance that he may get picked up elsewhere. You never know. But if he comes to the Prem, I think the coaching quality in the competition just naturally goes up. Because, yes, he may not have had a glowing record with the All Blacks, but he certainly wasn't a bad coach. And he's got an excellent track record prior to when he was a New Zealand coach.
Yeah, he won 7 Super Rugbies in a row with Crusaders. You don't do that by accident.
No. So whoever does get him, they have got a hell of a coach on their hands, or a DOR. So it is interesting. It's not really the off season. It's this window of change that we get this in rugby, where it goes on whilst everyone's still playing rugby, but there's so much movement and stuff going on at the moment. It is hard to keep track of it all. And I think, and even just to round off some of the other changes, so like Thomas Francis coming back from France. We're seeing players coming back from French teams who, in the part, they probably could have stayed in the top 14 to get maybe a pretty penny. So I'll be interested to know how many more make that journey, and whether Prem continues to be an appealing destination to players and coaches alike.
This is the sort of thing we've been crying out for.
Yeah,
for the Prem to become a destination de rigueur for the top players and coaches around the world. We've had Michael Checker in the league recently.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a bit of a precursor to it, but we haven't had global stars. We've had, obviously the likes of Finn Russell, Len Ikitau's here on a short-term contract. That's a good statement of intent. But have the global stars been coming to the Prem on a regular basis? No. Is this the start of it? Let's hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. And I guess the proof will be in the pudding and one kind of. Well, I think all eyes are on the remaining Red Bulls signings, I think, because if any side's going to make any big names, I think it's likely to be them at this stage. Although, arguably, the Bath recruitment's been very quiet, and we know that they are the other side with, pretty deep pockets at this point. So maybe there's more to come.
Yeah, but to be fair, Bath have backloaded a lot of contracts.
They have, and they are already...
Probably doesn't give them a lot of wiggle room in terms of recruitment at the moment, does it?
Yeah, I suppose the difference being Bath can't be far off the cap, if not slightly over. Whereas Red Bulls, reportedly had 2 million, if not more, to spare, and they're going to spend up to it from next year. So that's why we're seeing all these signings and some really big names. So it is exciting. Moving on from transfers, touched on Scott Robinson, so it'll be interesting to see where he lands. I think the other item to touch on may be this, the latest episode in what is the WRU conveyor belt of chaos, which is what seemingly is lining up for the demise of Ospreys in favour of Cardiff, but it's very confusing, asking Ospreys owners to buy Cardiff so that Ospreys no longer exist and they own Cardiff instead.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it is bizarre. The mechanics of this, I don't necessarily understand, because I don't know why it's Y11.
Yeah.
Who are the owners of Ospreys? I don't know why they would be keen to shell out again to buy another club.
Yeah.
Other than, I guess, to get in at Cardiff. But then it's such a strange. I mean, I've seen one player was announced for both clubs recently.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. So the route is Christ Schunzer is being rumoured to have signed for both Ospreys and Cardiff. It's basically seems to be the way that the WRU's decided to announce that Ospreys are going to be the region removed by letting it be all done via rumour and speculation and nothing official, and done through leaks and the professional WRU method.
The region that's just purchased the St Helens cricket ground to redevelop into a rugby ground.
The region with one of, if not the most successful history of professional Welsh rugby within the professional era. That one, one of the better performing regions in the URC, I think, compared to the others. Which isn't
consistently better performing. Yeah, they've had some real high moments as well.
Yeah.
And look, so have Cardiff, right? But I think the point here is, Wales has very few big towns. It's effectively Newport, Cardiff, and Swansea.
Yeah.
Clonecley is actually a very small town in reality.
Yes.
And I'm not saying you should get rid of Clonecley because it's historically incredibly important. But, your two biggest population centres really are Swansea and Cardiff. And you're going to drop a team in Swansea.
Yes. Make it make sense, Rory.
I would be amazed if there was anyone, even within the W, who could. I genuinely don't know who could make it make sense, because at this point, it's more than a muddle, isn't it? It's beyond parody.
Yeah,
how mad it is.
It is mad, and I know we've joked several times that it can't get much worse for Welsh fans. If you are a listener and a Welsh fan, it's got to the point where it's not funny, and it's not really.
No, I genuinely just feel sorry for them, because I feel sorry for lots of people here. Right? There's players who are now going to be very uncertain about where their future lies if they have one.
Yeah.
There are fans who are potentially about to lose the team they support. Very few people in British sport will know what that feels like. The football team I support went bust. We actually came back as a Phoenix club, fortunately, but we did go bust. It does. You do feel pretty bereft when it happens.
Yeah.
And then there's also a lot of people who will work behind the scenes at Ospreys and at Cardiff potentially, who are now going to be thinking, "I'm out of work," and they won't even have the luxury of the kind of salaries that some of the players will be on. Although some of them will not be on massive money, there'll be a lot of people in the Swansea region who are about to be out of work with, not any. A very limited safety net. It is, and professional sport is ruthless, and you have to make ruthless decisions at times to create that kind of high performance environment, that high performance ethos. But there is a human cost to this decision on a number of different levels, and on top of everything else, it just seems batshit mental. It doesn't seem to make sense. So, look, the WRU has literally never been popular. I've seen clips of people complaining about the WRU 50 plus years ago.
Okay. So they're consistent.
This is not new that the WRU have been getting things wrong. But on this one, this could be, genuinely, this could be a mistake at the proportion that creates terminal decline in Welsh rugby. Because if you start making decisions that actively turn away active fans like this, particularly in your largest population centres, you're reaching a spiral. You're reaching a death spiral at that point. Because let's be frank, I mean, Cardiff are actually thriving as a club. Other than the fact, I know they had to get bought up by WRU, but the Arms Park gets really good crowds at the moment. They're doing very well in the URC. They seem to be on the up.
Yeah.
Connectly struggling in the URC, and their crowds are not great.
Yeah.
Newport Dragons have had an uptick in results in recent weeks. They've had a few wins, fair play.
Yeah.
I suppose historically, it's not been a success.
No.
And this is not me to kick these regions while they're down, but what I cannot get my head around is, of all the regions if you are absolutely intent, we've got to cut a region. Why are you cutting the one that's got a stadium asset that it's redeveloping, historical success, and a number of your best players? Because all you've done is force Dewi Lake and Jack Morgan over to Gloss.
Yeah.
Where are the rest of them going to go?
exactly.
I mean, they just re-signed. What's it? Is it Dan Edwards, the fly half?
Yeah, they did.
They just re-signed him. Who does he play for now?
Who knows? And the thing is, Ospreys and Cardiff friendly? Is that a friendly rivalry?
Are Swansea and Cardiff friendly, David?
Because
I don't think it's beyond. We can call on old Drakey, who's contributed to the pod in the past, to explain some of the parochial nature of Welsh tribalism.
Yeah.
But I believe that if you put it in football terms, Swansea and Cardiff is one of the few bubble games still active. So for anyone who doesn't know, that is where if you support one of the teams that is away, you are required to travel to that city, be put on specific travel between the two clubs, escorted by police, and you're escorted home again. You can't just head to the other city and head to the game because they are certain there's going to be a riot. So are people from Swansea and Cardiff friendly? Not. I mean, I wouldn't say it's necessarily getting towards, factional or sectarianism in regions more in the Middle East,
right?
But you're getting up towards sort of Glaswegian sectarianism in that kind of region.
Okay, so it's not going to be an amicable joining of fan bases and players and.
There is going to be nothing amicable in Welsh rugby for some time to come, if ever again.
I'm sorry, Drakey, and I'm sorry, any other Welsh rugby fan. It just adds to the confusion around the decision making here. But we'll continue to observe from our pedestal over the River Severn and across the bridge.
The umpire's chair on the other side of the Severn.
yeah. Like we're not going to throw too many stones because we're not perfect over here, but
Oh yeah.
It's easy to look outwards and inwards, etc., etc. But Rory, we digress. Champions Cup round 4 this last weekend.
Let's dig into it.
It came to a close. The pool stage. Let me run you through the results for the listener. If there's any games that you don't know the results, and you don't want to know the results, I would suggest skipping forward 30 seconds right now, but I'm going to run through the results for you. So it starts off with Pau 24, the Bulls 26, an away win in France. Bath 63, Edinburgh 10, Sharks 50, Clermont 12, Bayonne 13, Leinster 22, Stormers 39, Leicester 26, Toulouse 77, Sale 7, Leicester 29, Cast 31, Gloucester 14, Toulon 31, Bristol 15, Bordeaux 27, Northampton 43, Scarlets, the mighty Llanelli Scarlets 28, flying the flag for Wales, go on Scarlets, La Rochelle 17, Harlequins 27, and then Glasgow 28, Saracens 3. So there's a number of interesting games here. Obviously, we've said in the past we just physically can't dig into each and every single game, and we'll focus on the Prem games. But before we do focus on the Prem games, are there any results there that, as just an overall headline, you want to draw attention to, talk about anecdotally?
I think there's some interesting results that pertain to French teams in particular. It's interesting how what's the best way? Schizophrenic French rugby can be in this competition at times.
Yeah.
Pau losing at home to the Bulls, Bulls pulling the rabbit out of the hat to get through the group stage. And it was a fairly strong Pau side. You had the likes of Atasogby in there. You had, Aradu, Tuipulotu, Facundo Issa was in the squads. Dan Robson was playing. It was a strong Pau side. And it was a very strong Bulls side. But we've seen the Bulls struggle throughout this competition. The Bulls did roll out their internationals, but I was surprised that Pau didn't get a result at home in this one, particularly given how well they've been going in the top 14 at home. I thought they did.
Usually a bit of a stronghold, isn't it?
You would have thought so. Clermont bow out the competition, having really made no impact. Very poor from them this year.
Yeah.
Bayonne, very poor this overall. Nearly doing the job on Leinster, though, right at the end, just to be shithouses. Quite like that.
Yeah, I do like it, because they sent out a strong team as well. It was I was like, what is going on here? Like, it seemed like a conscious decision just to make it not comfortable for Leinster. It's quite funny, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, I quite like it as a decision. I think Leinster really did squeak through in that one. They'll be relieved today. Toulouse obviously going gangbusters, smashing sailors, as I think a lot of people expected. But Cast going away to Munster and winning.
Yeah, who would have thought that? Just because they.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they've now got 2 wins in the pool, so they do finish quite well in the pool stages overall, I suppose. But no one called that one, I think.
No, but the writings should have been on the wall with the Munster Gloucester game, I guess, because that wasn't.
Munster have been really poor in this competition and deserve to go out. But I don't think anyone expected Cast to bother in this. And,
no, that was a surprise to us all.
Toulon, very, very strong against Gloucester, and we'll talk about that one in a bit more detail later on, but very, very strong. Taking their strongest side. They didn't take that one lightly. Bordeaux, very strong against Bristol.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in more detail. But La Rochelle going out.
Didn't see that one coming.
Didn't see that coming at all. I mean, I didn't see the Quins' performance coming. Again, we'll dig into that a bit more. But La Rochelle going out. I think it's what I'm getting at here is that actually the league that's underperformed and also weirdly in some cases overperformed the most is the top 14, more so than the Prem.
Who'd have thought that? The French league and the French teams are the ones that have provided the most. What's the word for opposing? Juxtaposed results.
Well, I mean, of the 8 teams to drop out, you have 1 team from the Prem in Gloss. You have 1, 2, 3 from the URC and 4 from the top 14.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have called it at the start of the season.
No, that's 50% of the top 14 teams are out at the pool stages, which, let's face it, is the easiest pool stage in any European competition to qualify from.
Yeah, and no, the caveat is Toulouse, Bordeaux, Toulon are all still in it.
It's a mighty fine caveat, Rory, but I still think
La Rochelle going out, even in that was a tough pool, to be fair, but wouldn't have had La Rochelle going out in that one. I would have thought Pau would have done it better given their results at home. Okay. Clermont, I know they're not the team they were, but in my mind, Clermont are always a European giant.
Yeah, Clermont are a shadow of their former selves. I would also argue, I get what you're saying, the La Rochelle, that was a tough group, but Harlequins, who have been in the form they have been in the last 3 months, notwithstanding the last 2 weeks, have been able to get out of that group. La Rochelle should have had.
Harlequins won 3 out of their 4 games and got a point away to Leicester. At some point, you just have to accept that Quins performed very, very well in Europe.
Yeah, I suppose that maybe I should take that back. Maybe Quins. I'm just so blinded by their small Prem form that I forget that maybe they've done quite well in this competition, but they have been awful in the Prem. I'm just
they've been awful. No,
reiterating dismal.
Yeah, dreadful in the Prem.
Yeah,
but they are top scorers in the pool stages.
Yeah, well, that's fair play. Fair play to them. Right, let's do a bit of a deeper dive into our Prem club friends. And I think should we start on Northampton?
Well, can we? Because you went to this game, right?
Sadly not, for reasons I shan't go into, but I have seen the game.
Right. I could... You'll have a more interesting perspective than me, perhaps, on this one. I couldn't have been more disappointed by Northampton in this game, despite what ended up being quite a good win, I suppose, in the end.
Yeah.
I thought it was possibly the poorest game I've seen Northampton play this season.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you, Rory. I was not overly impressed with Northampton at all in this game.
Given the week before,
yeah,
and obviously came away with a point from Bordeaux, so in some ways not a terrible result, but not a brilliant performance all in all across the whole 80. I expected Northampton to really come out all guns blazing in this one, and I thought from the off you were poor, and not because of anything other than it seemed to be arrogance would probably be a strong assertion on it, but it did seem casual in terms of the application in this one.
I don't think they were expecting Scarlets to come out as well as they did, because they were very good in the first half, I thought, for what they were doing. They were really putting pressure on. Northampton weren't able to string anything more than 2 or 3 phases together, I think, for the entirety of the first 60 minutes.
Well, the handling was dreadful, and it was I mean, it was quite bad against Bordeaux. It was poor in this one.
Yeah, the timing seems to have dropped off. I'm not going to put that on Bello being the fly half, because I don't think I think the runners they're timing their runs wrong. The amount of times that Tommy Freeman or Slight Tom was slightly ahead of the ball coming to them,
Well,
it just seems like it's just slightly off by half a second, just
they
across
were
the line.
in the back division. They were the two biggest culprits.
Yeah,
If I'm being honest, Slight Home had lobster claws all day,
yeah,
and Tommy Freeman, really in the last 2 weeks, to my mind, has gone backwards in terms of his claims at 13.
yeah. I'm not going to disagree. They've not been good performances at all.
No, yeah,
It's an odd one because like last week, I would have said that it was a good performance, but we were let down by our set piece and our discipline. I think this week we had a bad performance and we were saved by the fact that our set piece was dominant and the other team's discipline was worse than anything I've ever seen. Like we were let off by the fact that Scarlets were just giving up penalties for fun. And
yeah, 100%. I think that Scarlets actually did properly let you off in this one.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think slither of positivity, which I will always search for in a Northampton scenario. Obviously, Tadaro getting a hat trick. His finish, that sidestep for I think which was his second try.
Yeah,
where he just absolutely does. I can't remember who it was, but
it's the goosey. It's the goosey on. I think it was Hughes.
Archie
nine.
Hughes, the 9. Oh, it was lovely.
Hughes actually landed on his arse backwards. It was good.
Like moments like that, they're fantastic. I think Tadaro, for someone who's come from literally obscurity from last season, he probably has to be our first choice winger at this stage. And when you consider in that pool of players, you've got Slighthole, you've got James Ram, you throw George Hendy in there, you're assuming Freeman is playing in the centres. That is some trajectory of kind of moving up the depth chart.
Well, he's got to have over 10 tries already this season, hasn't he?
Oh, wait, absolutely. He's his try scoring records.
15 plus, yeah.
His try scoring records are ridiculous.
He's been phenomenal all season and a real testament to the hype that you were giving him last season.
I take all credit.
Yeah, and you should. I think you're right to highlight him. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, the scrum was very impressive, but if we're being frank, against a not brilliant Scarlet scrum, not helped by Jake Ball having to go off early.
Yeah. Yes.
So
yeah, I think it was almost shades of the game the week before, but in this case, Northampton were playing the Bordeaux role where we just had an obviously dominant scrum and we just used it to our advantage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think even like I've like Henry Pollock had a good game, but again, like I don't think anyone really shone other than Tadaro, and I think most players will probably come away from that game with more things to work on than things to be happy with.
I wonder if, and I feel there's an element where you don't want to put the brakes on the way Saints play, but maybe there's a case of missing a bit of game smarts. It was because it seemed like you were running at 100 miles an hour at every occasion and getting it wrong more times than you weren't.
Yeah, it did feel like we were trying to force it off of the first or second phase very soon, and it just wasn't working. And I think the more we forced it and more to try to make it work, it just made it worse. I think there's probably would have been an argument for Alex Mitchell to just kind of play a bit of possession game, get a bit of control back in the game. Certainly in that first half where we were really kind of going toe-to-toe, punch for punch with Scarlets at that stage. Yeah. I think a bit of game control, which is something that we've not really... There's been games so far this season where I think the control of the match has been in question, but in recent weeks we've kind of ignored that because it's been working and it's been clicking. I think we've gone back to a point where it's not clicking and then it exposes that weakness perhaps a little bit.
Yeah.
But, maybe the Six Nations is coming at a good time for Saints where maybe just a bit of a rechecking of just things. I'm not saying we're at a crisis or there's anything wrong. Like we're at the top of the table, like in the Prem. I'm not.
It's a chance just to reassess, isn't it?
Just reassess.
Getting into crunch. You're getting into crunch time now.
Yeah, and Saints historically usually come into form in the March, April, May run. I think the slightly harder ground, usually dry conditions, suit Northampton, obviously. So I'm not worried overly. And they did the most important thing, which was to get that win, that bonus point win that secured them a home draw in the knockout rounds. But we'll talk about the draw of the knockout rounds later. But I'm not coming away from this thinking Northampton were spectacular. I think, if anything, one of their worst performances. It's just the nature of the beast is that they were too good for Scarlets. Even on a very poor day, they were still able to put 43 points on them. But I thought Scarlets looked quite good for what they were worth. Fletcher Anderson, I've been really impressed with him at all competition. I think he's a very, very combative 8.
I thought he was good. I thought Ryan Elias was good.
Yeah, Elias was good.
I think very confrontational. I thought the 2 wings once again were good.
Yeah, both wings. Josh McLeod, absolute nightmare at the breakdown.
Yeah, McLeod was very good again. And I thought Costello looked good.
Yeah, he managed
a really
the game.
Nice chip. Yeah, a really nice chip at the end for Davies' try, I think it was.
Yeah, Jack Davies.
Yeah, I thought he looked. I've rarely watched him at club level. I've only seen him sort of in struggling Welsh outfits. You watch him games like that, you can see why there was a bit of hype. They were keen to get him involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So a nice little fine swan song for the Welsh region in the competition. Should we move on, Rory? Because I'm not normally I talk Northampton for hours, but it just wasn't that good of a performance. Should we talk about Bath? Because I think they are righting the wrong of last season by really putting a statement down. I think that's how I'm reading this.
I think it's very clear for all and sundry that Bath have come this year with an intention in this competition. I think even in the away defeat at Toulon, you could see how focused they are on this competition. This performance, I have to say, I felt rather sorry for Edinburgh in this game, not because of anything they were doing wrong or anything particular on that front, but just they got Bath on a week when Bath were not going to give it up easily.
No,
and I mean it's not worth reviewing this sort of a play by play because Bath were rampant almost from the off. I think it is worth highlighting some players in this team that were particularly good. Top of the billing for me is Max Ojomoh again.
Yeah, he continues to impress, really, doesn't he?
He's
very,
just
very
getting
good.
better and better every week at the moment. Watching him up alongside Lawrence is just tantalising as an England fan. It's the combination. He's such a triple threat because he's got all the ball skills. You've seen him fill in at 10, 12 and 13. Got all the ball skills. He's got the kicking skills, but he's also got the athleticism.
Yeah.
He's not lightning quick in the sense of, like a Henry Arundel, but he's quick.
Yeah, but you don't need that front 12, do you? You don't need lightning quick.
No. And he's also got to be 6'1".
Yeah, good size.
6'1", so probably something in the region of about 15 stone, 16 stone, something in that kind of region. You combine all that together, that is a proper purpose-built athlete. With his game ability and his ability with the ball is just really, really quite something to watch. And
it's quite some headache for Borthwick, I think. Like, if you're going off this weekend alone, are you looking more optimistically at an Ojomoh Lawrence centre partnership than you are a Dingwall Freeman one?
Well, it's a genuinely difficult question to answer at the moment because obviously Dingwall Lawrence beat the All Blacks. Ojomoh got a man of the match performance against Argentina and is absolutely flying at Bath.
Yeah.
Freeman, I'd say a mixed bag at 13, but you've seen what he can do there.
Yeah.
I'm probably leaning more towards Ojomoh Lawrence at the moment, but any two of those four, you could make a genuine case for, and that's you could still got to add in the likes of Henry Slade, who has been phenomenal for Chiefs this season.
Yeah.
People are forgetting how good Henry Slade is, and he's moving it down at Sandy Park. And Seb Atkinson, who is coming back into some form and fitness that got him on the plane to Argentina in the summer.
Yeah. Like, centre is no longer a problem position like it was 18 months ago. Like, I was really struggling to see where they were coming. They've come out of everywhere. There's Massey White, who's come back from injury, started scoring tries.
Yeah, he's been excellent for sale.
Will Wand, there's numbers.
Will Wand's been great.
Yeah.
It's a problem position in the sense that we still don't have a settled partnership at international level. But Ojomoh Lawrence in this game just excited me.
Yeah.
Who else excited me in this game was Thockenham Singer.
Where'd that come from? He's been pretty absent most of the season by his standards, but that was one hell of an performance from him that I haven't seen this season yet.
I mean, he's a freakish athlete.
Yeah.
Singer. He's 6'5", probably 17 plus stone, and I would imagine he runs a 10.500, something in that kind of region. He's properly like Lomu-esque athletically.
Huge athlete, yeah, absolutely.
But there's always been a bit of a suspicion, I think, from a lot of people that he's a player that's lent on that as opposed to his all-round kind of game ability, which is probably harsh.
Yeah,
but I think that has been the sense from a lot of people,
and that's coming from two props.
Yeah, we are not freak athletes. We're just freaks. But I think anyone who's watched Bath in the last 18 months, in particular, has seen the value of what a player like that can do. And on form like he showed in this game, he's putting his hands up again. Now, I don't expect him to be in the mix for England. I suspect that time's been and gone. But he was showing it in the high ball battle.
Yeah,
he was showing it in how he appeared in gameplay and in face play. The way he set up Ben Spencer for his try. Lovely arcing run round to the other wing.
Yeah,
making the break, and he's showing it in scoring tries. Because I tell you what, there are not too many players on the planet who could stop him going at full tilt when he's running into the try line.
There certainly weren't many in Edinburgh shirts.
No. I'd say, was it Satala Navluvu?
Yes,
who I think was
on debut.
And a tough assignment for a lad on debut.
It was. Is it also worth drawing attention to the fact that once again the entire Bath front row scoring some rather spectacular tries?
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaving Abano and Dunn in my starting lineup in the Champions Cup at the moment because whilst they are so capable of playing brilliant rugby, Bath, but they revert to type so quickly.
But it's because it's so effective. Like
effective. It just works.
Their rolling maul is nearly unstoppable, and the way their forwards carry, pick and go, it's inevitable. We've seen it time and time again in the Prem, and I think some of our European friends have been on the rough end of it, and Edinburgh certainly were in the first half of this game.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they tried to build in a bit of subtlety into it this time with the Abano try.
Yeah,
with Barbieri running the kind of the unders line behind the ruck and popping it to Abano. That was a nice little bit of subtle variation.
Actually,
don't expect to see that in the knockout stages too often.
No, but you just reminded me that I did want to bring this up. Barbary, he has hit a rich vein of form.
Yeah.
Tom Willis no longer on the radar.
Well,
could you get a bit? Is he the closest we could possibly get to a Tom Willis style 8? If Borthwick was feeling experimental.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of not to be too reductionist on those two players because there's a lot more to their game than.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah.
But as massive ball carriers, Barbary is probably the only natural eight playing in the Prem that could do some of what Willis does. Obviously you're the likes of Chandler Cunningham South, but is he a natural 8? Probably not. Don't think Don Brandt's quite got that explosivity and contact to do that. Ben Earls, Vizalao, they're very different types of players. You probably are looking at Barbary if that's what you want, is a big bruising ball carrier.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you've at least got to ask the question, haven't you?
Yeah, and I've been a huge Barbary advocate for a long, long time. Back when he was a hooker at Wasps going through the academy. Yeah. So to see him, what may be him hitting some really good form in an international window, just makes you wonder what could have been. Obviously, he's had some horrendous injury moments in his career, but he's still relatively young, and he does offer something, a point of difference. So I'm no selector. But if I were, I'd be having a little double take at the Barbary performances at the moment. But yeah,
your question is he is not a line-out option.
No, he's not a line-out option. You're quite right. But so I think
that is at the moment, I think that's what's potentially going against him.
But considering the way Borthwick likes to pack his pack with what is predominantly nearly. I think if he could, he would have the props jumping. I think you can afford one or two who aren't jumpers.
Oh, I agree. But you need to ensure that Guy Pepper is a proper line-out forward, which he's pretty close to. I don't know if he's absolutely nailed at international level, but he's obviously 6'4", so that's not a bad option to have. But who's your 7? Probably, or Underhill. Underhill's not a line-out option, really.
No,
Ben Earl probably could be, but he's not. He's a fucking 10.
Just go full Bath back row. Ted Hill, Guy Pepper, Alfie Barbary.
It's genuinely not the worst option, is it?
It's genuinely not. Obviously Henry Pollock coming off the bench, but I digress. Anything else on Bath?
Well, speaking of Guy Pepper, he was everywhere. He was phenomenal. Again, it's just the engine on him is outstanding. The only other, not a Bath player, I think the shining light for Edinburgh again was Freddie Douglas.
What a player he is going to be, and it already is.
Yeah, really, really, really excited by the prospect of him.
Yes, and I think you were right to tip him in your breakthrough year this year, because he looks like he is going to be an absolute pest for Scotland. I hope he gets game time this year for Scotland, because I think he is probably one of the best players over the ball I've seen in a long time. His turnover work is incredible. Yeah. Like, genuinely a marvel to watch. Like, if there's any youngster out there who wants to get better at jackling, go watch Freddie Douglas replays.
I think they've got to pick him.
You got to. And he's still like he's what, 20, 21? Like
20, yeah.
Like, fair play. Like, he is definitely been a standout for Edinburgh, and you could probably put a little piece together to suggest that he may be the reason why they've qualified from this pool stage, because his turnover work has been incredible.
He completely battered Gloucester. Yeah. He's probably the reason that Edinburgh got back into that match on his own, because he stole so much ball off Gloucester.
Yeah. In 4 games in this competition, he's got 10 turnovers.
Yes, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. In a top-level Champions Cup. Yeah. For a non-fancy team. Yeah,
it's incredible. But yeah, as we said, Bath, they're going full guns in this competition, and we'll see how far they go. We might touch on the draw a bit later on and the interesting path they may need to take. And I say interesting with a real tongue-in-cheek moment, if for those who are aware of the draw already. But moving on, next game, let's talk Harlequins, probably the most unexpected result of the round. Have they actually turned the corner? Because we suggested last week that maybe it was just a one-off kind of, they were sent an easy win against Stormers. Have they actually clicked overnight, as they seem to have suggested they have?
You've got to take it with a pinch of salt at the moment, because although they've strung 2 very good performances together, and that is what it is. They have strung 2 very good results together. And this game in particular is a phenomenal result and a phenomenal performance, I have to say. The question for me is, does this reflect in their league form? Are they trying to replicate what Saints did last year? Was the rather pointed remarks from the coach's name, Jason Gilmore, after their last league loss, where he said people are playing for their futures, is that a little bit of a fire?
Yeah.
It's difficult to know where this sort of all naturally will end with Quins, but I think on the strength of this result, you could afford to let Quins fans just enjoy it for what it is, because winning away in La Rochelle is tough for anyone.
Yeah,
and to do it in a manner where they looked the better team pretty much throughout the whole game.
And it was not a weak La Rochelle side either.
No. Let me throw some names at you. Dylan Lades, Niniashvili, Ihaya West, Winnie Antonio, Boudon, Jigu, Ottier. On the bench, Wardy, Sclavi, Aldreet, Hastoy, Jack Knoll.
Yeah, that's stacked.
There are serial winners throughout that squad, and they looked rocked by Quins throughout this whole game. Winnie Antonio was bullied at scrum time all day by Simon Kerrod.
A sentence I never thought I'd hear.
No, I say slightly tongue-in-cheek. I mean, Winnie Antonio, I suspect if he was here to have his right of reply, would suggest that he was reffed out of the game. And then he, I think, gave away 4 scrum penalties overall. And I would say at least one of them I would have questioned. You could probably make a case for 2.
Yeah.
But actually, Quinn's scrum was phenomenally solid in this game. They gave away 1 or 2 penalties, and they crumbled a little bit at times. But given the fact that Finn Baxter wasn't playing, Boris Wenger's not playing, you got Hobson on the bench. I thought they held up remarkably well, and the fact that they got Antonio, more than one over on Antonio, I think is really, really impressive. The defence they showed belies everything we've seen from them in the Prem up to now.
Yeah,
I mean, dogged is the only word for it. Culminating in right at the end of the game when Marcus went to fullback. And there was a moment before the game was sewn up where Niniashvili got free on the left and would have been able to, I think would have brought the game back to, would have been able to bring the game back to 24. And Marcus slotted him off the pitch. A massive hit. Given he'd already been binned for a high shot, he'd already hit the game. It was textbook, absolutely slotted him off the pitch. And it was the culmination of what had been an incredibly dogged and determined defensive performance from Quins, to the point where, obviously La Rochelle still scored 3 tries. I mean, Niniashvili's first try, the first try, it was probably off La Rochelle's first real attack. Quins had a lot of the early ball and a lot of the early territory. But they had to really punch away at Quins to create the hole. Quins didn't give it up easy. And that was sort of the story of all of their tries, really.
Yeah.
They had to. The Bergeron try is probably the exception because it comes off a scrum that crumbles. One of the few that did, and that was right after Quins made all their substitutions, and Aldrich makes the break and feeds Bergeron to score. But outside of that, you can't really criticise their set piece or their defence. And then on top of that, Marcus Smith put on a performance that showed true international fly half quality.
Yeah.
Just controlled the game from the first minute. Kicked incredibly well. I not just didn't kick badly, barely even put through a less than brilliant kick. Just constantly making the right decision at the right time. Hayden Merley was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. From the off, actually. He was making breaks from the off. Really, really coming into his own at the moment, Merley. Very good finish for his try as well in the corner on 40 minutes, taking Quins into the lead at the break, which was deserved, but probably unexpected at that point where you think La Rochelle probably going to keep them out.
Yeah.
They look a million times better with Tyrone Green back at fullback. A million times better. Just looks so much more dangerous coming out from the back with his ability to run it in at full tilt into whoever has the unfortunate job of trying to tackle him. Lucas Friday looked the heir apparent to Danny Kerr. Yeah, controlled the game, kicked well, passed well, sniped enough to keep people interested, but didn't get caught. Showed a bit of niggle, at one point.
Yeah, he likes it.
Almost getting himself in a tussle with Bottier, which I would tell sort of heavyweight boxers to hesitate in that particular conflict. But Lucas Friday was right in there.
Yeah.
To a man, Quins were good. I mean, Jack Kenningham looked brilliant in an impressive season by personal standards. Kenningham once again looked brilliant. Again, putting his hands up to get back in the England squad.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice feeling that we can talk positively about Quins this year, because I don't think since the start of the season we've done it once yet. So, let's enjoy it while we can.
I think the only time we gave them credit was when they beat Saracens.
Yes.
But apart from the Saracens game, this is probably their first really, really good performance with no caveats.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Stormers win was against, the Stormers, I say under 18s. They were South Africans. They could have been 45, who knows. The Bayonne win was against, Bayonne D team.
Yeah.
There was a bit of praise for how they got 4 tries away at Leinster, but, they still shipped 50.
Yeah.
I would say this probably eclipses the Saracens' performance, given that we now a bit more context on Saracens' level this season. But this performance, even though I know La Rochelle are not the La Rochelle they were a few years ago, I know they're mid-table and top 14. They've not got they've not had heaps of great results in this, but they nearly beat Leinster. Last week. This is a La Rochelle team that is perfectly capable of bringing it on any team they come up against, and they were all out of ideas against Quins in this one. Quins properly managed them off the park.
Yes,
super impressive, test match level performance from them.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if Harlequins can keep it up. I think that's where I'll be focusing on. Is it a flash in the pan, or is it something we're going to have to consider going into the second half of the Prem season? Is the Six Nations coming at the worst possible time for them if it's just clicking? We'll see.
Possibly.
Moving on from Quins, you alluded to it there, Saracens. Have they really found their level? Because they were given a bit of an average and given a bit of a clinic by Glasgow, I'd say.
Yeah. We keep saying it, and I think we were the first to call it this season.
Yeah,
that something's not right.
Naturally, we're on the pulse of rugby, Rory. It just is what it is.
Classic us. We are the zeitgeist.
We are.
But even when Saracens were stringing some results together in the Prem, I wasn't overly convinced by them. And I'm sorry to say for Saracens fans, they are proving me right time and again. And I wonder if we've overestimated the quality of some of their players, or the quality of the squad overall, or if it's just a case of they haven't kept up with the times and it's their tactics that are suffering in the current format. But Glasgow aren't a freewheeling, all-out attack Bordeaux-style team. But
no, I'd call Glasgow the Scottish Bath.
Yeah.
Very systematic, very solid, very effective. There's no whistles. There's nothing overly fancy about them, but it's like a machine that just keeps on whirring, and it doesn't slow down for you. If you don't keep up, you fall by the wayside, and that's what Saracens did. They were not able to keep up with what Glasgow were doing, and they couldn't figure out a way through them. Like the Glasgow defence just absolutely smothered Saracens, and they did not have an answer for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is it a coincidence, Bath being coached by Johan van Graan, Glasgow being coached by Franco Smith? South African coaches are in vogue at the moment.
Well, and it's a very South African style of rugby, I'd argue, because
it's just utterly effective and efficient, isn't it?
And it's always backed by physicality and backed by being as dominant as you can be in the tackle and being as dominant as you can be at the breakdown and picking your moments. And
if you do all that, you can't beat it, can you? Really? It just ruthless efficiency is very difficult to beat, even for a team like Saracens that used to epitomise that.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's exactly what Saracens used to be, and I think what we are seeing, and as you alluded to, Saracens are not the force they were. They may still have a number of those big name players: Atoji, Ben Earl, Jamie George. But I think whether it's that kind of that wolf pack mentality that they used to vaunt, I don't see that anymore. Where they used to kind of hunt as a pack, that doesn't seem to be the case. Maybe because there's been changes, maybe the profile in player is so different across that team, like the age difference. Maybe it just doesn't have that unity like it did in the past, where it felt like it was 15 brothers. Now it feels like it's 15 guys that are paid to play with each other.
Is the Mark McCall era becoming a bit tired at Saracens?
Well,
are they? I put it in some context. They've qualified through the Champions Cup groups. Okay, admittedly, not necessarily the difficult task it used to be, but they have done it.
Yeah,
they are still in the hunt for top 4 spots, if in the Prem, if not necessarily within our perceived chasing group. But they're chasing the chasers. To be fair, it's not like the arse has fallen out of Saracens, but given the lofty standards that we hold them to as a club in the even last season, really, is something starting to feel like the towers are crumbling a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels like that. I think they've got the players coming through to do something quite special. It's just whether the players coming through. I'm not sure the players coming through fit the same way that the previous Saracens golden generation was able to be utilised. I don't think it's that type of player they got coming through. They're all very mobile, they're all very athletic, but it's not a power game. And you just look, I think they just need to have a rethink, go back to the drawing board and figure out where are their strengths, where do they need to exploit better, where will they get their preferential matchups? Because I don't think it's where they used to be.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head there, because actually at the moment with the likes of obviously Noah Clory, the Bracken brothers, even Fergus Burke to an extent. You got a back row of McFarlane, Gonzalez, Ben Earl starting in this game.
Yeah, they're all freak
Are
athletes.
they fitting square pegs in round holes to fit this game plan? You've got someone like Evan Van Zyl, whose natural inclination is to take the pace off it and take the heat out of it. But you've got a number of players that, Sintic, Elliot Daly to, even Shegan even. You've got players there that their natural game feels to me like one that just says, let's just go.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they're trying to fit too many square pegs in round holes in this team.
Yeah, well, that's what I think it is, and I think whether it does require a new brain in the coaching department, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say Mike McCall hasn't been an absolute brilliant servant to Saracens and continues to be an excellent coach, but
arguably the best coach in the history of the Prem.
Yeah, but are his ideas conducive with the squad and the game plan he has in mind for a successful Premiership or Prem rugby football team? I don't know. I guess the rest of the season we'll find out a bit more. But if that was me involved, I'll be looking at ways to really rewrite the game plan and use the weapons they've got in a different way, because they have got some weapons. They've absolutely got weapons that could really cause a lot of teams a lot of problems, but I just don't think they're set up for it at the moment. But, well, we saw Glasgow were able to nullify them, shut them down. Saracens didn't have an answer and were able to go through their group stage unbeaten. So fair play to Glasgow, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think finishing top seeds in the whole competition, aren't
they? Yeah, one of, if not the. So fair play to them.
No, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. They were top seed.
Yeah.
So, I think superb.
Yeah,
from that point.
So yeah, don't take your eyes off Glasgow, although I do suspect maybe a different opposition may challenge them in ways they haven't been so far, but we'll see. Moving on from Saracens, let's go to Bristol. The maybe not surprise package of this year's competition from the Prem, because I think we're not surprised by the way they've played, but they've certainly outperformed their probably previous track record in Europe by putting some seriously good performances at play, and they had the unenviable task of playing the previous champions in the fourth round. Thankfully, it was at home, but headline for me, they didn't half give them a good battle.
Well, yes and no. They had a crack. There's no doubt about that, and I think there are a lot of players in that Bristol side who came out of that game absolutely in credit, right? Ellis Genge once again brilliant, and the fact that I think he went the full 80, didn't he?
He did, although he did similarly struggle with Carlu Sadie, as Fischetti did the week before, but he did correct it eventually.
He did correct it eventually, and I think he struggled in a slightly different way. He wasn't getting battered backwards. I think he was struggling with some of the more.
I think it was being crowded. I think it was being crowded out.
Yeah, but he got on top of him in the end, and I think he was good against Tamafuna as well. Actually, given that he was going the full game, but in the loose, I mean, he carried like a demon. I know he spilt one over the line. By his standards, he should have finished it. It would have been it would have been a hell of a finish if he had done it. But I thought he was excellent. I thought the locks were brilliant. Rubiolo and Batley were both superb.
Rubiolo's so good. He's so good.
He's phenomenal.
He's like 23.
Yeah.
The fact he's going to be around for another 10 years, he's going to be some player when he reaches lock maturity age, which is like late 20s, early 30s. He's going to be some player.
Yeah, once he gets his dad's strength, he's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
I thought Grondona and Hardin in the back row were very, very good. Joe Owen, when he came on, was very good, I thought, as well, actually.
Yeah.
Harry Randall had one of his best games, I thought, in that first half, just for tempo-wise.
Yeah.
Tom Jordan, I thought, was good until he went off. Joe Worsley, tougher game. We'll talk about that in a bit more detail. JVR, Bernard Janssen van Rensburg, again, very good. Great finish for his try.
Yeah.
Williams, very good with the ball. The problems for me just stemmed from a bit of the age-old disease for Bristol of bad choices at bad times and kind of shooting themselves in the foot. I think also Ogre scores first. I think it's the first attack for Bristol, basically after just shy of 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really good attack. They force a knock on. Harding kicks it through. They win in the Jackal penalty. Randall taps and goes, and then Ogre and Genge pick and go together right over the top of Le Beep Beep.
Poor Le Beep
I mean,
Beep.
textbook. Absolutely textbook try, right? That's like, if you were writing the blueprint of what do you want to do against Bordeaux,
That's
absolutely textbook there. And then just 3 minutes later, Lewis Rees-Zammit gathers the ball in the backfield, puts over a really poor chip
Yes.
that goes straight to Jalibert, who then breaks and puts Le Beep Beep into the corner.
Yeah, Rees-Zammit did not have his best game, I would say. I think
Bad game, actually. I thought. I think I'd call a spade a spade. I thought he was poor.
Yeah. I think he shipped a load of turnovers. I think was one of his turnovers the start of one of their other scores as well, where he just turned it over when he didn't need to.
Yeah. Well, he was charged down in the second half. Didn't lead to a try, but he definitely got charged down at one point. Biabaret's second try was Bristol spilt the ball.
Yeah.
And, it was just because it was such a mad game, there was very little like stoppages. There was so much ball in play time. It looked absolutely exhausting to play. And these are the two teams best placed to exploit those situations. But it's just a case of who's better at it. And it's the team with Jalibert and Biabaret ultimately.
Who'd have thunk it?
Who'd have thunk it? Sometimes all you just need is the two best players on the planet in that type of game.
Yeah.
Depoortere's try. It was another gift. So Bristol spilt the ball, gets hacked on. Joe Worsley doesn't.
Sam Worsley.
Sam Worsley, sorry, not Joe Worsley.
Although Joe Worsley might have done a better job on the day.
Yeah, possibly. He doesn't field the ball in the back, and it spills, and they hack on and score it. Yeah. It was 3 turnovers, 3 tries.
Did you hear the commentator really put the curse on by saying at the start of it, "Oh, these are the two teams that haven't conceded any turnovers that have led to tries," and then proceeded to.
I mean, to be fair, the Ogre try comes from a turnover.
I know it's typical.
All of them. George Gloucester, another one with lobster claws this week. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of time for Gloucester because I really respect the fact that he converted from hooker to tight end post going professional. That is difficult to do.
It's a big transition.
And be good enough at it to hold your own against Jefferson Poirot. That is tough. George Gloucester has turned himself into a very good tight head.
Yes.
But his handling was crap. It was crap in this one.
Yeah.
Bristol, they were just wasteful. They had opportunities to get back in the game. They had opportunities to really, really put Bordeaux under pressure. But actually, I don't think Bordeaux ever looked unlikely to lose this. No. Because you couldn't guarantee Bristol would string enough pressure together to actually score. Maybe if Genge hadn't spilt it over the try line, it would have been different. But, another example, right? So Bernard Joseph Van Rensburg scores his try at 65 minutes, right? Revuvu breaks. It's a really good finish one-handed under loads of tackle pressure, right? It's a great try. Yeah. But then Worsley tries a chip and chase in the 22 and they end up giving away a penalty because he gets charged down. Yeah. It's like the first thing you do. And then straight after that, after they score the penalty, he sends the kick off dead. Yeah,
it's your own worst enemy.
It's... we talked. Worsley's had a couple of really good performances this season, right? A couple of man-of-the-match performances, and we've talked about, the strength of character to come back from some, I think his debut in particular was
some bad games,
yeah. But this was a bad performance, and actually not symptomatic of his performances this season. But I have to say, losing Tom Jordan looks like possibly what did it for Bristol in this one, because unfortunately, the lack of control and game smarts at 10 seems to be
seriously
one of them. The general hands were poor at times.
Very profligate and just wasteful. And if you're wasteful to Bordeaux, they punish you. And Beep did certainly punish them. Another player getting a hat trick. His try scoring record is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, his all round game is underrated. Right? His defense is very good in this game. Not great under the high ball, but he's 5'6" or whatever.
His positioning is fantastic though. Like he is textbook, like positionally what you want from a winger, and I think that's why you don't see him getting exploited all that often, because he's always in the right place.
Always in the right place at the right time, and it's trite to say it now, but the express pace. Yeah. When you see it up against quick players like you did in this game. it really is something else, isn't it? It, you know, he's so fast. He makes fast people look slow.
Yeah, I think that is a perfect way to sum it up. But Bristol have not let themselves down in this competition so far, and they put up a better show against Bordeaux than Northampton did the week before. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Moving on, Leicester with the unenviable task of going down to Cape Town and taking on the Stormers, who are storming the URC. But this did not go as I thought it would. Looking at the side that Leicester put out and the side that the Stormers put out, I thought this was going to go in a similar route to a certain game that took place in Toulouse this week, but didn't quite go that way.
Well, given that side, I thought, shellacking.
Yes.
The performance on the pitch from Tigers was nothing short of superb, actually, given all of that. Given that, the Stormers' scrum was, bulldozers wouldn't have stopped it. It was all over them. Given that it had a 19-year-old at fullback, who was superb.
Mm-hmm.
Really good finish for his try, but just generally superb. You didn't have your two biggest hitters at centre. Woodward and Wand were phenomenal throughout this whole game. You didn't have Adam Radwan. Hamer Webb was absolutely stepped up.
See, he's made the Wales squad, Hamer Webb.
And
deservedly so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely deserves to. No, I was thoroughly impressed by his performance. And actually, part of me wonders if it would be unkind to those players to ask the question of what would have happened had they sent the full compliment. But, I think it's worth asking the question because, if you'd put, the propping stocks at full tilt.
Yeah.
If Joe Hayes starts in that game, is it a different story?
Yeah.
If Nicky Smith starts in that game, is it a different story? Maybe and to be honest, that's possibly the only change you'd necessarily want to make. But all round, I thought the Tigers were absolutely brilliant, and I thought they were going to do it, to be honest, at one point. I think they're unlucky not to come away with more than 1 point.
Yeah, I think they should come away from that feeling pretty pleased with themselves, putting on that performance and really not making it easy for Stormers, who maybe they went into it thinking this was going to be maybe they looked at the team sheet and thought, this isn't going to be too hard. We can have a bit of a run round here. Certainly didn't go that way. That wasn't how it played out in the end. No. And just again, something that we've really not used to doing, but we've done a lot this season. Full credit to Leicester Tigers and seemingly Jeff Parling doing an excellent job up there.
You can't really argue with it. Jeff Parling is absolutely given his mettle at Welford Road. Neither of us particularly like praising Tigers, but we have to on this occasion, really.
Yeah. Yes, it's annoying when they do this because you've got no choice but to praise them. Sadly.
Yeah, they've just been utterly shit, and we could have enjoyed.
They did still lose. They did still lose, but
they did still lose. But I think a good sign of how well they performed in this one was how spiky Sasha Faimazulu got in this game.
Yes,
and I think
that's testament of how much pressure he was put under.
I think got under his skin, and they earned the opportunity to do that because they really were combative from in many ways quite a classic Tigers performance in the sense of they were combative and dogged from the off, and the likes of Harry Wells in the row, wasn't he? Just leading from the front in that sense, as you'd expect from him. But they were just physical and combative from the off, and just put Stormers off their stride. Who still scored some good tries. They went up very early. They got Roos scored after 12 minutes, and they got a line-up more. Venter scored after 15. So at that point, you're thinking, it was a good sort of first 10 minutes from Tigers, but this is going the off, and then just sort of turn it around from there. Pearson's try off the back of the line. I think it's Sasha makes the mistake with the kick and gives Leicester's really good line-out ball. But they spin it really well. It's a lovely line, goes right under the posts. And then Will Wand, again, another really good line off a line-out move. Again, another bad kick. Another bad clearing kick gives Leicester line-out ball in the Stormers half. And he just really good line, and he just absolutely rounds. I think Similani, the 15, just rounds him. But some of the performances, some of Pearson was so good under the high ball.
Yeah. He honestly looks like some player.
I mean, maybe shouldn't have been totally surprised because he was very good against La Rochelle earlier in the campaign. But he looks a superb prospect at fullback. He sell a bit more of a mixed bag in this game, missing one.
Yeah, interesting one. But then slotting the ones from the edges.
Yeah. And actually, I think missing that one in front of the posts from a momentum perspective was a real bad mistake. Well, Blamire does score a line-out ball straight after the half, but you've got to keep the scoreboard ticking. You've got to have real scoreboard pressure in those moments, and I think not slotting that to go up at half time psychologically was maybe a bit of a death knell for Tigers in the end. Although they probably would have struggled regardless.
Yeah.
And then not helped by an enormous downpour, sort of 3/4 of the game, just out of nowhere, suddenly just like ridiculous monsoon, all the fans running to the back of the stands.
Yeah, I don't think anyone saw that coming. Adds a bit of variety.
Just absolutely heavens open.
Adds a bit of a variety to the spectacle. But yeah, I think as I said, full credit to Leicester. They may have lost, but they've certainly. I think come out of that with a lot of real big positives. Now, the next two games, I have a feeling for two different reasons you don't want to talk too long about. One of them being Sales gets just absolute demolition by Toulouse.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame from Sale because actually there were points where Sale actually looked all right in this game.
Yeah, their try was lovely. Their try was lovely.
Yeah, it was.
Tom Curtis.
Just, golfing class. And actually, I'm pretty disappointed in them for the performance overall. Not because they were objectively bad across the park on this one. It felt like they went down sort of quite defeatist. Not picking the likes of Ernst van Rijn.
They've done exactly what we've criticised other teams for, of sending a real ragtag group of mixture of academy and squad fillers. Obviously, there's some actually top. I'm not saying everyone's a squad filler because Dugdale.
No, I mean, there are some first team players in there, but I don't know. It looked like a strange selection, and it played out sort of probably how you'd expect that one.
But normally they do that, and you have a strong bench to try and stop that from running away from you. It was just the bench was even more based on academy play, like Patrice Bell, Patrick Hogg, 18-year-old, Ruben Logan getting his first game for the senior team. It wasn't.
No, it's disappointing. It was disappointing, and don't get me wrong. Toulouse in the mood they were in, they just struggled anyway. But it certainly felt very un-Alexanderson to say the shags out.
Very defeated. And I'm annoyed I didn't pick more Toulouse players in my fantasy team. Put it that way.
Me too. Ramos getting 11 out of 11 though on kicks is pretty phenomenal.
His place kicking is ridiculous because most of them are from the edge as well. He is some kicker. The only positive I can think from myself that OBNA looks like a handy winger.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a player that was on my radar at all going into this season, but looks genuinely a very good player. So that's a positive for them. And I thought the Marius Lowe, Rikiti Marsu White centre partnership had
its moments,
but certain something to it as well.
But maybe less said about that game, the better. And the next game, Rory, I'm not going to force you to talk for a long period of time about another defeat for Gloucester, but obviously I thought Gloucester did not look as bad as just the statement of saying another defeat. I thought it was a gutsy performance against a very tough opponent.
Yeah, I mean, the reality was we were outclassed and overpowered. But look, as you say, I think there were things to take away from that game that are positive. I thought our line-out much improved.
Yeah.
I thought our scrum was good. I thought some of our ball play looked good, if maybe not overly threatening against that Toulon defence. But I thought some of the nuts and bolts of our game looked much improved from where they have been. I think Kinson and Barton as the 10-15 axis has got to be the way forward at the moment.
I can't help but agree. And I think it'll be interesting to see when Joseph's back, because it'll be interesting to see how those two go with Atkinson and Joseph outside them, and then Ben Loader on the wing. Like,
there's talent in that squad, right? Yeah. It's just absolutely racked with problems. We're down to 2 second rows at the moment, Danny Ite and Alamano.
Yes.
Danny Ite wouldn't be a name familiar with a lot of non-Gloucester fans, I would imagine, at this point. No. I mean, don't be wrong, really good prospect, 6'9", like the look of him, but he's 19, 20, something like that, and he's not filled out yet. So it just... some nice moments, he put a couple of nice hits in, but you're asking for Freddie Thomas. Apparently, he's wrecked his hamstring, so I don't know what's going to happen there.
Well, he's been selected for the Wales squad. He has been selected, so it can't be that bad. So
you'd hope not, but not going to be available this week against Bath. So we'll see how that goes.
But, maybe that's for the best.
Yeah, I'm not expecting a good Friday evening this week for old Raw. But there was some nice play. I thought Seb Atkinson. Seb Atkinson, I thought is looking back to he really took it to Toulon. At times, a bit of a one-man army.
I think that's the problem. I think he's trying to shoulder it all himself.
Yeah. I mean, understandably, because outside he's got Will Butler, who's commendable effort, but we signed him as a squad filler from Worcester. Cockgreave's a young lad. Hathaway's just coming back from injury. Actually, some nice moments, but come back from injury. So there's just not the quality around him really. And up front, we're just underpowered. But yeah, it's tough at the moment. But there was some green shoots again this week, but last week, and I'm clutching at straws. But at the moment, you got to as a Gloucester fan.
Yeah, you hold on to those straws, Rory, because you need them. But I agree. I think performance-wise, it's much better than what we've seen perhaps in the last kind of month or so from Gloucester. So, as you say, green shoots. Let's see. Maybe there's a trajectory that's just about to start. Let's be positive. We're a positive pod. We've said it before.
We're a positive pod.
So those are the Prem teams done at what I'd like to think is a generous canter through some lovely detail and some lovely analysis by us. I must say so myself. That is the end of the Champions Cup pools. That's the pools finalised, and there is a knockout stage to this tournament where we now have that kind of established, and it's exposed yet again a number of problems with the format where the knockout stage draw just doesn't feel quite right. There's a number of teams in the same league drawn against each other. Most of the sides of the pools are occupied by the same teams they've played in the pools already. One side feels incredibly harder than the other. Some teams seem to have an incredibly comfortable route to a semi-final should they wish to, turn up and contribute. Have you had a chance to analyse and perhaps provide critique, Rory?
Well, look, I don't think there's going to be any surprises in the quarterfinals, which is sorry, not the quarterfinals, the round of 16, I should say.
Yeah, the pointless stage of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, if you were really generous to say, could Bristol spring a surprise on Toulouse? Unlikely, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Could Saracens spring a surprise on Bath? Again, unlikely, but not beyond the realms. Outside of that, I don't see the Bulls doing anything at Glasgow. Stormers maybe at Toulon, maybe could spring a surprise there, but
maybe.
Are Edinburgh going to go and win in Leinster? Unlikely. Sale could beat Quins away, I suppose. That's a possibility.
Yeah, but it's so exciting, the prospect of a Sale versus Quins knockout game in the Champions Cup. Two teams who are going so well in the Prem.
Yeah, and the winner of that is probably going to go and play Leinster away.
Exactly.
So, let's be frank. I think the quarterfinals could throw up some much more interesting games, but the round of 16 there's not much to say about it really. But I'm expecting the quarterfinals to look like Bordeaux v Toulouse.
That's exciting.
That's an exciting quarterfinal. Arguably a stage too early for a team for a clash of that magnitude. But to be fair, Toulouse have lost 2 in the tournament, so maybe that's fair. I'm expecting Bath against Saints.
That'll be interesting.
That will be interesting. Probably at the Rec. It will be at the Rec, assuming that happens. But that will be an interesting one. I'm expecting Glasgow at home against Toulon.
Interesting.
Interesting. I mean, Toulon's last trip to Scotland, not a happy one. And Leinster against Quins, which we've already seen in the pool stages, probably more of a foregone conclusion. But you know, Quins have just proved that they can spring a surprise away.
They've got to be sick of playing Leinster, though, surely.
Yeah, you'd think so. Yeah. I think if Leinster put another 50 on them, they'll definitely be sick of it.
But I think they've got to say that Northampton seem to be unable to go through a Champions Cup run without playing Cast at least once, because we've got them again. It's just there's some teams you just cannot avoid, and unfortunately for Quins fans, it seems to be Leinster for them. Yes, again, I'm not excited about the round of 16, but the quarters do throw up some interesting games.
And the semi-finals, you know, as you expect, I would expect the semi-finals to be, and I'm sorry, David, I do expect the semi-finals will probably be Bordeaux-Bath, probably, but that's not a foregone conclusion.
Recent form suggests otherwise, Rory. Don't forget.
It does. Well, sure you're not falling to recency bias. And then I would expect on the other half it to be Glasgow against Leinster, but at Glasgow. So again, that's not a foregone conclusion at all, that one.
No, and I don't think Leinster have been that impressive this tournament.
And I don't think they've got a particularly good record against Glasgow in recent years, actually.
No. So who knows? Maybe... But
you could end up with Glasgow in the final, which would be phenomenal for Scottish rugby.
It would be, but am I excited by a Bordeaux/Toulouse? Let's face it, it's probably going to be one of those two against Glasgow final. I'm not sure. It feels a bit foregone conclusion.
Finals can throw up funny things.
They can.
And Glasgow have proved they are no mugs.
Very true, very true. I'll try and be positive. But we'll see. We'll see how it pans out.
We're a positive pod.
We're a positive pod, yes. I must remember. Now, I'm fully expecting that as we post this podcast, people would be expecting us to talk about Six Nations squads and things like that. But just by the nature of things, we're recording this before all those are announced. We've started to see the Welsh one, the Irish one, the Scottish one. They're all starting to trickle out, including under 20s. We'll do a review of those next week. I suspect we'll have them all by this time next week, I hope. If not, we'll do a Six Nations special at some point. But we're rolling.
After Gloucester game.
Yes, because we've got one round of the Prem for some reason that we'll talk about next week, and then we'll be all eyes turning to the international competition that we very much enjoy. If you haven't joined the Six Nations Fantasy League thing, make sure you do. I did a thing on the story, but I'll do another post about that when we get to it once the squads are out. But I think for now, Rory, we'll bring the pod to a close, and as always, Rory's final thought.
TNT to broadcast the next Lions game and see my latest spectacular score.
There you have it, folks. The campaign has started, well underway. But this has been Rucks Balls and Oval Balls, talking about all the fun things in rugby. We enjoyed having you. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and we'll see you again next week. Ta-ra.
Ta-da.